Last Monday, Barry Quatermain's group of hired thugs again visited Ilford. Most of us were out at the time, and they gained access and started to evict the Flemings. Strangely enough and happily enough on this occasion, the police said they were not going to allow the eviction to proceed without a court order. And when some of us arrived, we promptly threw out the bailiffs, frog-marched them to the gate and threw them over the gate. And when Mr. Quatermain came back from the town hall, having received further instructions, a scuffle developed between himself and me, during which he broke my glasses and I gave him a black eye. At 5 o'clock on Wednesday morning, he brought 15 of his thugs to Woodlands Road, armed with helmets, crowbars, rocks, and dustbin lids for shields, ladders and goggles. They made an assault on Woodlands Road. They then came here for another assault on this house. And when they started to throw rocks through the front room upstairs windows, we threw them back. And we gave, once again, better than we got. And all in all that morning, Mr. Quatermain's mob were, for the first time, unsuccessful. They took a hammering.
People would suggest, Alf Williams from RedBridge suggested, and some people from King Hill in Kent suggested that, well, there's loads of empty houses around, why don't we squat in them and take them over? Because it's absolutely terrible having us in these shitty hostels and all these houses empty for years and years and years.
The authorities in this country, both central and local, have failed absolutely to solve the housing situation. The situation still gets worse, and it has become blatantly obvious that the authorities cannot and will not solve the housing situation. The time, therefore, is ripe for ordinary people themselves to take action against the authorities and to build a movement of direct action of their own.
In November 1968, the Catholic Come Home, which was written by Jeremy Sanford, which I helped do the research for, was shown for the third time on television. This was an expose of those kind of conditions. The council tried various legal methods to get us out of these houses. The first thing they tried was High Court injunctions. They got injunctions against myself and Jim Radford and some other of the activists, which basically said, you're not allowed to visit these houses anymore because you don't own them, we do, and it's trespass, and we're injuncting you or enjoining you to stop you going there. We ignored the injunctions because if they jailed us, because again the Redbridge Squat got massive publicity. If they sent us to jail, as happened with King Hill, where they sent two husbands to jail for staying with their wives, it was all over the front page of the national press. So they couldn't enforce the injunctions. The way we avoided the injunctions was not to avoid them. We just said, you can jail us if you like, you'll be on the front page of the national press. So that effort failed. Then the council, this gets very complicated. It's all written in the squatters. As I said, we put up this sign saying, under the Forcible Entry Act of 1381, you can't use strong hand a multitude of people to kick us out. You can't violently kick us out. The council, however, had discovered the Forcible Entry Act of 1429, which said that if we were forcibly detaining the properties, i.e. we had entered peacefully, but we were remaining on the properties by means of force or violence, then they could kick us out straight away. So the council went to Barking Magistrates Court to seek an order of restitution under the Forcible Detainer Act of 1429. And that would mean that the magistrates could get up a posse. This is archaic law. We researched also, we were expecting all this. The magistrates could get up a posse and just kick the families out straight away. The situation is, if we kept the council out of the houses by barricading the houses, that's not forcible detainer. If, however, you refuse to let the magistrates in to see the force, to view whether there's been any force or not, that is forcible detainer. So we had the bizarre situation of me running down Cleveland Road, Ilford, to get there about 2 minutes before the magistrates, saying, for God's sake, let the magistrates in, don't let the council in. Because if the magistrates are not let in, we're committing forcible detainer. And so it was, the magistrates knocked on the door, We let them in. The council officer, we said, "You're not coming in." Kept the council officers out. Let the magistrates in. They realised, they looked around, there's no forcible detention, no weapons, no masses of people, just a family living there with a few friends. And they went back to court and refused to grant an order of restitution under the for forcible detainer under the Forcible Entry Act of 1429. At that, the council went even more certain they'd been already, and they decided to break the law. The council decided to employ a private army to get us out, not bailiffs. These people weren't bailiffs; they were the heavy mob. And the first eviction by Barry Quatermain's thugs, Barry Quatermain's office was in Surbiton.
This is Barry Quatermain, who, with his professional bailiffs, carried out illegal evictions on the instructions from Redbridge Borough Council. His address, Goose Hill, Red Lane, Claygate, Esher, Surrey. His business address, Southern Provincial Investigations, 45 Brighton Road, Surbiton. On March the 20th, on orders from the council, his gang broke open the door of 81 Cortlandt Avenue and set upon the family of Ricky and Olive Mercer. Quatermain is the man who pushed Olive, 3 months pregnant, in the stomach with an iron bar. They are the ones who attacked her again, causing her miscarriage.
The first attempted eviction by Quatermain's thugs was on the 21st of April 1969, when they smashed their way into 43 Cleveland Road, where we put the Flemings, with iron bars, and battered people who were there. They dragged the kids out of bed at 6 in the morning, dragged the Flemings out of bed, hit a friend of mine on the jaw with an iron bar, broke his jaw. Another woman in the stomach with an iron bar who was pregnant and she had a miscarriage. This was the heavy mob. But you know, they got us out. We weren't expecting this. I have to say, we weren't expecting this. We didn't think the council would employ a private army to get us out, but they did. And for a while we were, a bit taken aback by this, not defeated, because we went on. Then we got recovered and went on squatting families. And again the council thought, right, we can't have this. We'll have to get the heavy mob back. Quatermain's thugs had got into Orgy Road and we're going to evict the family from Orgy Road. However, we said, "You're breaking the law, get out." And we took control. And basically, frog marched out, 4 or 5 or 6 of them, however many were in there, frog marched them to the streets and said, "You're out, get out, you're breaking the law." And because we took control, they're used to people taking control. If we'd protested and said, "You can't do this, you bastard, blah, blah," they're used to that. But they're not used to people taking control. We took control and we frog marched them out. On the 23rd of June 1969. After that happened, a few minutes later, Barry Quatermain, who had been at the town hall, arrived, and he and I got into a bit of a scuffle, and he broke my glasses, so I gave him a black eye, which was great. It was all in the press next day with Barry with a big black eye, etc. And he said, I'll be back.